closed yet, so don't worry, I'm not protective of them. So people that are not here, they can still get their certificates. Because one thing about the oath, words have power. And the words that were chosen for this clinical student oath were crafted not only by staff, but by all students. So these words are RVC, sure we borrow some, but they are an RVC product. And it means something, and hopefully you will appreciate as you recite this. So at the end of this proceedings, we all rise and you're going to recite that oath. And I hope that these words will mean something to you because they're meant to make connections about where you want to be and how you got here in the first place. So I'm going to hand over the floor to your colleagues who have been a little ahead of you. And whilst they do that, I'll be around floating, giving certificates. So just remember that as I go by, raise your hand to let me know if you need a BDSC certificate. Okay? So there's marks here. Not all done work all the time. Try to
Hello? Oh, it works. All right, so we are some final year students here to talk to you guys about rotations and your clinical years. Yay! So this is just a little bit about what we're going to go over tonight. Should be pretty simple, but we will have a Q&A at the end if you have any extra questions, or if you want to come up and bring something up to each of us individually, that's fine too. So first up.
Hi everyone, I'm Gori. So my future goals are working in a small animal GP and exotics practice back home in the States. My current goals, passing my NAVLE, enjoying my final few months, a nice Christmas in London, and getting through the rest of my rotations and then graduating. The tracks that I did is I did the ZSL Zoo track and Shelter and Durham, and my EMS is all smallies. And then I've done a lot of them in London and have commuted in from Pottersbar. And I did my RP2 as a qualitative study on types of prejudice that vet and vet nursing students face on placements. And we all have a little quote, and so my quote was, "It's okay if you feel like you need to scream after a shift. You're not alone. I've done it with my rotation mates."
Hello. Hey guys, so for those of you who don't know me, I'm Hannah. I will probably end up going in something non-clinical after I graduate, I think. My current goals are to finish rotations, obviously pass finals, and then enjoy my summer, hopefully do a bit of travelling before I start work. The rotation tracks that I did were Optho and Onco. Highly recommend if you guys have picked those. I did my EMS mostly in small animal practices in London, but I also did a couple of non-clinical placements, which if any of you are interested in hearing about those, I can talk about them at the end in the Q&A. I did my RP2 on attrition within the UK vet profession, so I interviewed people that have left and gone and done other things to try and understand why they've done that. And then my quote is, if you give yourself the ick on rotations, don't worry, it's completely normal and you get used to it.
I'm Gwyneth. So I know some of you guys, for those that don't. My future goals are going into wildlife conservation, zoological medicine, and potentially zoological exotic anesthesiology. My current goals are to complete an externship in conservation medicine, apply to USA internships through the veterinary internship residency matching program, and graduate with my sanity intact. The rotation tracks, I've already done my anesthesia track. I've also, on the ZSL track, I have not done it yet. And then for EMS, I've done a lot with smallies, equine, and exotics and zoo med. So if you have specific questions about that, I can hopefully help. And my RP2 project was a quantitative study on reindeer contraception in Scotland, which that picture is one of the beautiful reindeer that I saw. And my quote is that the horrors persist, but the wonders prevail.
All right. Hi, I'm Taylor. So I would like to do farm mixed animal practice, specifically farm and equine mix. My current goal is to pass the NAVLE, complete rotations, pass finals, and enjoy my last few months before I have to go back to the US. I did the Hammond's mixed farm equine track and the production animal track, so if there's any farm interested people in the room, I think I'm the only one here with that interest, so I'll be here if you want to talk about that. My EMS has been primarily farm and equine with a little bit of smallies sprinkled in here and there. And then my RP2 was a survey of swine producers, looking at their use and perception of enrichment for farrowing sows. I also have a big interest in pigs, so if you are looking for pig EMS, I also have some ins there. And then my quote is, the more you learn, the less you know, because that is how NAVLE feels.
Hiya, I'm Lex. So my future goals are zoological pathology, veterinary microbiology, or zoo and wildlife vet. Current goals, complete rotations, pass finals, and then get some general practice in smallies and exotics. My tracks, I did Aspinall Zoo, and then I will have neurology. In terms of EMS, I've done smallies and equine. And my RP2 was lab-based, so I did AMR in captive non-human primates looking at E. coli. And the quote I chose was, never to suffer would never to have been blessed.
Hi guys, I'm Jade, and my future goals are to be a surgical oncologist. So I will go to GP and then internship and the residency and so on. Currently, I want to finish rotations, pass my skis, pass my finals, and then just go on holiday. The tracks I've done are oncology and soft tissue surgery, and EMS I've done small animal GP, both private and charity, and I'm going to do EMS at a referral centre as well. And my RP2 was looking at haematology and biochemistry in dogs that had splenic hemangiosarcomas. And then my quote was, it's not really a quote, but it's, nothing is ever that deep, clinicians won't remember you after a week or two, so if you embarrass yourself, it's fine.
Okay, so these are going to be your guys' core rotations that you go through. I know some things have changed slightly for you guys, but this is kind of the general basis. So you really do get a chance to see every aspect of veterinary medicine. So for farm, you'll have Synergy A and B. So you will get a lot of work with dairy, specifically dairy calves and sheep. And you also get a chance to do some poultry, a little bit of pigs, a little bit of beef. And you also get to do some abattoir work, which is actually really interesting for anyone interested. For the smallies, you have Beaumont, which is great. You get Beaumont primary care and exotics, which is kind of your chance to be the clinician and you run your consults. And it's just a great experience. Then you move on to shelter and Blue Cross, which again, it's a lot of smallies surgery and running your own consults. Internal medicine is in the QMH, same with emergency and ECC. ECC. And so that is all in the QMH. That's a great time. The clinicians are there to help you, ask them questions, ask them to do things, and they will let you do things. You just have to put yourself out there and really jump into it. For equine, you get a little bit of everything. So you get general practice, orthopedics and surgery, out of hours, and medicine. And then for clinical skills, you get an entire week of just clinical skills in the QMH and in the CSC and in the brand new building out at the farms. And then you also get diagnostic imaging, pathology, and anesthesia, which are all very, very helpful for just day-to-day skills.
So you guys already have your rotations, you already have your tracks, so I'm sure a lot of you already kind of have an idea of how things are going to go and what's going to speak to your interests. But some good things to keep in mind. So for your strengths, those are kind of like your interests. Making like a list of your interests, your passions, your future goals, and look for what rotations or tracks that align most with those, but also what aspects of your like unrelated rotations are also potentially going to be beneficial, or what can you take from those rotations. Because I know, I'm sure that there's like people that want to go into Smalley's GP and have no interest in farm, but I promise that there are going to be things from every rotation that you're going to take forward into your career, regardless of what you do. For your weaknesses, so it's a really good idea to have, you know, in mind as you go into each rotation things that you want to improve on, but you're also going to discover them in the middle of rotations. It's going to be like a constantly revolving door list of things to improve on, work on. When you feel you've gotten, you know, a handle on it, something else is going to come up that you can improve on. So keeping that in mind. For opportunities, some of the rotations are like really, really unique and would be difficult to find like with EMS. So definitely, you know, take advantage of everything and keep an open mind. Like I said, like some people are sure they're going to go into Smalley's, and you might, but farm, exotics, equine are all going to have things that you can learn from. And like I said, your interests might evolve. You might end up finding that you really, really love working with a specific species or specific group, and you had no idea, and that's okay. And to just look for ways that you can grow as a clinician, but also as a person, because I promise that no matter how tired you are, no matter how fed up, no matter how irritated, there's always chances to learn and evolve as a person.
On rotations and EMS, you're going to find a lot of challenges that you're going to deal with. Just like Dan said, it's not going to be easy breezy, beautiful, but these challenges are what everyone goes through, so like remember that you guys have each other to count on. So one challenge is like having a lot of things to do during your prep week and debrief week, which thankfully we have those now, so you have dedicated time to do these things. So just make sure you're keeping on top of your prep week stuff. Sometimes you'll have prep week stuff to do for a rotation that's in the last week of your block. You can look over it, glance over it, but make sure you're really brushing over that the weekend before that rotation, so you're just on top of your knowledge. And then debrief week, you're going to have like reflections to do online, online meetings for VPH. If you guys are having your VPH weeks, I'm not sure how your rotations are set up, but just make sure you guys are really participating and doing the best that you can in those things, because at the end of the day, like, the notes that you do in your prep week are going to help you with your knowledge during those rotations and make you feel more prepared, even though you're like, going to be nervous about going into like internal med or something or emergency. But you know more than you think you're going to know. Another thing is like your time management. I know a lot of you guys are from North America, like me, and you're studying for the NAVLE. You're going to be studying for the NAVLE around like this time, like a few months ago. Just studying a little bit at a time, or like having like your vet prep on your phone while you're going into London or you're commuting to your rotations is a little way that you can feel like you're studying for exams, but you're not actually sitting down and like dedicating specific time if you're exhausted after a day of equine medicine, for example, or on overnights. It is really tiring. It is really struggling. It is a really big struggle to study for the NAVLE and like do your notes for actual rotations and study for finals. But you just have to like buckle down and do a little bit here and there while also like taking care of yourself. So like make sure like your Sunday is like a food prep day. I like to like meal prep my meals for the week or something, or like plan whatever I'm doing. And then just like if you have trouble focusing, I know like some of you guys use Focus Friend. Or like just have your Outlook calendar up, or like a physical planner if that works better for you. And take some time to yourself. You know, rotations are really important, but time to yourself is also really important. So like, go out on the weekend, have a nice like movie night in with your friends. Because I know a lot of you aren't going to be on the same rotation group or even the same like schedule as your friends. So it's important to take time to see the people that you want to see. And then challenge number 3, you're going to be dealing with a lot of different people, a lot of new people on rotations. So remember your rotation group, you guys are in this together. They are your support system, and they're going through like the exact same thing you are at the same time. So just make sure like you might not get along with your group at all times of the day, but that's okay. You're going to have people that you can rely on in your group at the end of the day. Then you'll have your interns. Remember, your interns are also clinicians, even though you might know some of them when you're on equine rotation. But they're there to like help you. They were you like 1 year or 2 years ago, so don't be afraid to like ask them for help. Like they might seem more approachable than the residents or senior clinicians in the hospital. And yeah, you're going to have a lot of senior clinicians and faculty who are really, really knowledgeable. So if you have any questions about anything, they want you to ask them because they want you to just be learning more all the time. And yeah, clients are going to be part of your life for the rest of your life. And some of them will be really great and really understanding. And some of them will look at your notes on the computer after you've left the room and move across and ask you questions about why you wrote what you did. But that's life. You're going to have to deal with difficult clients as well. So just learning how to keep calm, have your communication that you guys have learned in like year 3 and year 4, and just also rely on your group again and rely on the clinicians that are there for help if you feel like you are dealing with a particularly difficult situation.
So I thought it would be useful to include a bit of information about the case reports because it was a new kind of assessment, I guess, introduced for our year, and we've kind of learned as we went along, so I thought it would be good to give you guys some tips so that you guys can hit the ground running. So you guys are probably familiar with the case reports. My best advice would be to take some time before you start rotations to look through the case template and really understand what it is that you're meant to be doing. I would say start thinking about your cases early before you enter your rotation block. So if you know that you're going to be entering the equine block, for example, and you know that you need to look for an equine case, start thinking about that before you start so that it's easy for you to identify a case that would be suitable. And then you can make sure that you get all the information that you need whilst you're on the rotation, because it's a lot harder to follow up afterwards. So the key bits that you will need is the case ID number and then any kind of objective signs, but you'll see it all in the template. When it comes to writing up your report, keep your write-up succinct. I would recommend using bullet points and don't go over the word limit. And then for submitting the case report, it'll be due Monday after your debrief week, and you need to make sure that you tick the little box at the bottom before 5 p.m. for it to get marked. That's really important. And yeah, I would just say take some time to pick a good case. So there is a list of the problems at the top of the case report template. Look at this, familiarise yourself with this, and make sure that your case is suitable. I would say don't go for the most complicated, interesting case, because you have a very finite word count, and oftentimes you won't be able to fit it all in. So I literally did one on a down cow and scored really highly in that. So I would recommend just picking a case that's simple, that you know that you have all the information for, and that you can do a really good job writing it up. Jill Madd's book is super helpful, and Sally Baker's lecture slides for farm. If you use those 2 resources, you will do absolutely fine. I literally had Sally Baker's slides up on one of my monitor screens, and I had my case report up on the other, and I was just following her process, and I did really well. So I really recommend using the resources that the RVC gives you, because it essentially tells you exactly what you need to be doing.
So for any students out there who are neurodivergent and or believe that you're neurodivergent, definitely go speak to the Advice Center and Disability team in terms of looking for your reasonable adjustments. These can also include any students with disabilities, chronic illness, if you're looking for exam time adjustments, short-term medical, any recent injuries, allergies. You want to contact the Advice Center because they'll be able to properly disseminate the information. And if you're on a rotation and you haven't properly disseminated information, you can get yourself into a bit of trouble. So it's good to get all your ducks in a row now.
Yeah, just for your reasonable adjustments, if you need any, you have to email the disabilities@rvc.ac.uk and set up a meeting, and they'll just sort that out for you and you'll be able to find the form on your rover. It's important to note that it doesn't get sent to your EMS placement, so send your form to your EMS placements at the QMH or Equine, wherever you're at in the RVC. They do send your reasonable adjustment form to the clinicians, but not every clinician reads their emails. So sometimes you've got to make them aware, and the rest of the team doesn't know either. So it's good to make people aware. Whether you want to discuss your problems with your rotation group is also up to you, but it's also beneficial they know stuff as well.
Amazing. So I think we're just going to open it up for Q&A now. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask.
Yeah.
This is my old brain practice.
I was just going to ask if you could go back in time to you guys in our positions right now, what piece of advice would you give yourself? Thanks.
The biggest thing I would tell my past self is that for every rotation, you're going to go into it feeling like a moron. Like, it's not an exaggeration. No matter how much studying you do, no matter how confident you feel, like in lectures and in practicals and everything, day one, that Monday, you're going to feel like an idiot and like you don't know anything. And you're going to feel lost. And I promise it's okay, because everybody feels that way. And all of the staff, the interns, residents, and everything, they'll understand, some better than others, but by the end of the rotation, you're gonna feel like you have things down locked. Like, I feel like the rotations I've done so far have taught me more than like my lectures did, and I definitely feel like clinically competent. I have one more rotation block left, all of us do, I don't know why I'm saying it like that. But I definitely feel like after each rotation, the teaching is very intense, and at times you're gonna feel overwhelmed, but by the end of it, you're going to feel like hopefully confident, but you'll be competent, so.
This is just a piece of advice for any NAVLE sitters specifically. Group study. Group study is fantastic. You keep each other on top of things, but you also get an excuse to see your friends who you might not see because you're on different rotation tracks. It's very, very helpful. You can like do little topics. It's fantastic. Definitely do that. But also, something advice I would give to my past self, don't judge your rotation group like right off the bat, because me and my rotation group now are like they're some of my closest friends, and I didn't know any of them before starting rotations. So keep an open mind. These people are here for you, and they're going through everything with you. Be friends with them. It's helpful. It makes everything so much more enjoyable.
I would say also use EMS as an opportunity to get out of your comfort zone. I think you guys still probably are in your prep phase of EMS, so have to do first opinion practices, but after Christmas, you can literally go and do EMS wherever you want, in whatever you want. I did a placement at the RCVS, I did a placement at a AI company to do with veterinary medicine, because I wanted to learn more about AI. You can literally go and do whatever you want, and I know probably a lot of you will know what you want to do after uni, but you're going to be doing that for the rest of your life, so you might as well use this year that you have to do things that you never thought you would be doing, because you then might discover something else that you really enjoy. So I would say just make the most of your like non-prep phase of EMS and go and do all the like weird and wonderful things. And also don't be afraid to reach out to people and ask if you can do EMS with them. A lot of the companies I've done EMS with haven't actually advertised offering EMS, but I just reached out to them. Some of them didn't even know what EMS was, but I explained it to them and then they said I could come. It's a bit of a faff sorting out with the EMS department, but once you like get over that hurdle, it's some of the best placements I've ever done, so yeah.
I think something that I would tell myself a year ago would just to keep throwing myself into the rotations, even if I'm interested in the species or like the specialty or not. Like I had a lot of fun on equine rotation. Overnights was kind of exhausting, but we like watched Lord of the Rings. We made little videos for FYR. It's really fun. You person or a small animal person, you end up having fun on most every rotation.
I would say use the strengths of your rotation group. So I was really lucky, a lot of us have different interests. So on each rotation, each of us kind of took a lead and helped each other out in what we were less confident in, which really helped with both studying and the experience as well. So if you're really bad at pathology, someone like myself who loves pathology, I was helping out my rotation mates and we were getting things done in a really efficient way, which allowed us to have a bit more fun. And the same thing goes if you have a farm, a rotation mate, and they're going to know how to round up the cows, where someone like myself has no idea what I'm doing. So use the strengths that you have within your group to really build your confidence and also build your experience.
Any other questions?
When you did your case reports, did you find it easier to do them at the start of the rotation block and then you didn't have to worry about it at the end? And did you kind of go through some of it with the clinicians or the your rotation group, for instance?
So with me, I've done 3 out of 4 now, and I did them at the end of each rotation block. Most cases I did was with the clinicians, so you take history and then you discuss it with the clinician, and then that's what I would use. Does that make sense?
So in debrief weeks, you get dedicated time to write up your case report. I'm not gonna lie, rotations are really busy, so, I mean, if you're really organised, then maybe you would be really good to do that, but I would say save the bulk of the write-up for your debrief week when you have the time to be able to sit down and do it. They do take longer than you think they're going to take you, so just be prepared for that. I would start at the beginning of the debrief week so that you have some time, but I would strongly suggest thinking about it throughout your rotation and maybe making notes or making sure that you get all of the information that you need, because sometimes not all of the information gets written up on the CRIS reports. So if you wait till the end, even if you have the CRIS number, you might not have all of the details you need. So I would suggest think about it, find a suitable case whilst you're on rotations, make notes maybe during the week, and if you do have any questions, ask the clinicians then. But I would say probably wait until debrief week because you'll have time to be able to really get into it for writing up.
Another thing, you mentioned writing them up with your rotation group. I definitely recommend having someone else look at it before you turn it in. It's really helpful to have your rotation group read over it, or even just another friend who has never seen this case before. Have them read over it. If it makes sense to them and they don't see any missing information, you know you're going to be okay. But if they read it and they're like, oh, well, what about this thing? You're like, oh, that is something I missed. That is something I can go back. And this is somebody who's never seen this case before looking at this for me.
I think another thing to mention is sometimes, because a lot of these are based on real life clinical cases, you might not have all of the information that you want. And if you're writing up the case report and you don't have all the information you want, acknowledge in your report that you would have liked to have this information, but you don't have it. So things like how many, if it's a shelter patient, how many other cats might have been at the shelter or something like that might not be written up in the CRIS report, but it's important to acknowledge in your case report that that information wasn't available, but you would have liked it, because otherwise you can lose marks for missing information, even if it's not your fault because you didn't have that information, but just acknowledge it.
You might have example case reports on Learn as well that you can use. Another thing I used was on Learn, you can find assessments and be there in the 5 final example papers, and I use those to kind of structure my case report.
I will say this is for the case reports, but also for all EMS and all rotations. Get yourself some of these little notebooks. These are literally my best friends. It's much easier to pull this out and write down details of a case or diagnostics or recommendations from the clinicians, information for your case reports, or little just things that you see that you think are interesting. Much easier to write it down than pulling out your phone because because it can be misconstrued, or having to like carry your iPad or laptop around. And yeah, it fits in pockets and everything. They're lightweight and everything. So I definitely recommend getting like little notebooks or something. Even when you're doing consults, if you like can't write it down on the computer or something, you can write it down here, and then you're not risking like forgetting things or whatever. So.
Any more questions?
Cool. Good luck, guys.
Yeah.
Bye.
Great.
Oh,
wait.
No, ask, because somebody else might be thinking it.
Yeah.
Be brave.
I just wanted to ask about the non-clinical EMS and how that was and what you got out of it.
Cool. So I did 2 non-clinical placements. I probably would like to have done more, but I think the EMS department has like a limit on how much you can do. I did 2 weeks at a veterinary AI company, which are the company that I initially approached them at the London Vet Show. They didn't know what EMS was, but I explained it to them and they said that I could come. And I spent 2 weeks, it's a startup called Looper. They now take EMS students quite regularly, so if you are interested, you can email them, I'll give you the details. But essentially, I was helping them, well, it's a startup, so you kind of end up doing a bit of everything, but I was helping them with like strategy, demand generation, helping them structure their PMS system in a way that would make most sense for vets. Basically just giving them insights as like a vet student. They have vets that work at the company, but sometimes it's useful kind of getting a fresh pair of eyes over it. So that was really good, and I'm really interested in business, so it was really good to have that exposure to like business environments, but also using my veterinary like knowledge to help with that. And then I also did a placement at the RCBS in the advancement of the professions team. So that kind of related to my RP2, but I was basically looking at why vets are leaving the profession and helping to come up with ways of encouraging people to stay, or identifying the issues within practice that are causing people to leave. And so that was really useful, and yeah, it gave me a lot of insight into how the RCBS works, a lot of the regulation side as well, and some of the key issues within the sector at the moment, such as the CMA review, potential legislative reform. So it was really useful for getting an insight into some of the wider issues within the profession. But yeah, I would say non-clinical EMS is really valuable, and it's good to get an understanding of some of the issues within the industry that you're about to be going into. But yeah, just make sure if you do want to do that, just organise it with EMS really early, because there's some extra hurdles that you need to go over.
This isn't specifically for non-clinical EMS, but really everything. Look ahead, plan ahead. I know like you're really busy and things come up really fast, but if you want to do especially like specific kinds of EMS, like zoological medicine, I did a placement at a hospital. Look now for your big like blocks of EMS that are coming up in a year, because otherwise they're going to get taken up. The same if you're going to be applying for internships, start thinking about who you could ask for letters now, or what EMS placements you could do to kind of bolster that. Because if you start looking, 3 months ahead, you're out of time, basically. Being on time is late, unfortunately, with a lot of these things. So just keeping that in mind and planning ahead, even if it feels excessive.
A little add-on to that. Sorry, this is getting really long. Planning ahead your EMS. If you're looking for anything farm-related and you do not have a car, make sure there are Airbnbs nearby the practice. If the practice is in the middle of nowhere, you cannot attend. Plan ahead, please. Any other questions? All right, well, good luck on your final year. We'll be outside at the pizza if anybody wants to ask us questions later. So, good luck.
All right. Okay. So, before we get to the main part of the event, I'm going to give you a little background about why was the white coat ceremony. So, this tradition comes from the medical profession. It's been practiced for many years, mainly in North America, and we brought it over something like. So I'm just talking to them. All right, so let's get from the top. So, give you a background on what coat ceremony. So, it's something that has been practiced and it's a tradition being maintained in the medical professions, dentistry, osteopath, all sorts of medical health professions. And the veterinary profession also follows suit, and it was mostly North America. So we brought it over, I think, 2014. We always have had sort of a handover from final years to fourth years, but it used to be very informal. It wasn't a ceremony. There was no oath. It was just like, this is what it was like. And so we kind of evolved over time. Because we wanted to make sure people understood that transition, that sense of responsibility that comes with being on clinics. And so this is where it comes. Now, one of the questions I get is, why do we call white coat? We don't have a white coat. As I told you, we now know that these are fomites. So, although they look nice and clean, they don't stay clean. And then who has time to do laundry? So they're just teeming with bacteria. And so there's actually quite good evidence to show that these are fomites. And scrub tops are easier to wash, they dry quicker, and it's away from your hands. So that's why we use a ball. But purple top ceremony, I just don't know if they would bring that. So we kept the name, but we updated for modern times. So that's why it is called still the white coat ceremony, but it symbolizes a bit of a transition. So this is the part that we're going to ask you to rise and recite this. And like I said, all right, so I'm going to count to three. We're going to start it. So 1, 2.
In honor of years of hard work, sacrifice, and dedication that has brought us this far, as we embark into our clinical rotations, we pledge to uphold the ideals of honesty, integrity, scientific inquiry, and compassion imparted to us by our mentors. Behave in a professional manner, showing respect to our colleagues, patients, clients, and ourselves. Diligently assist the profession's endeavors to improve animal health and welfare. And finally, we pledge to constantly strive for improvement in our personal and professional growth through a commitment to lifelong learning.
on my bag.
I'm gonna wait.
It's probably not good.
Yeah, we'll take pictures first, and then let's meet in front of like the horse statue. Where did I put my paper?
Guys,
Oh shoot, there's only
I had to. Oh my god. Right to the camera. I got Oh, she said to stay here.